Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Kiran. Kiran, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Benjamin. I'm super excited for doing this.
Yeah, Kiran, I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be fun. It's a subject that I think a lot of people are going to relate to. But before we dive into that, let's get to know you personally. Tell us about your career and your work history and all that fun stuff.
Yes. Okay. So I'm an engineer turned marketer, which I think it's common with a lot of people, right? But I have been officially doing marketing for 6 years in my career and unofficially doing marketing for over 9 years. So I have been in love with marketing in different shapes and forms, like from the time I got introduced to it. In my career, I've been doing marketing for 6 years. Started with the edtech startup. Got to learn a lot, not a very good corporate experience, but I still, got to learn a lot about corporate and marketing in general. And that was like my doorway, right? So had a lot of fun there. Then moved to a B2B SaaS company, which was Web Engage. Spent 4 years there and did a bunch of stuff. I started with social media, then moved to video marketing, then moved to content marketing, then managed the website for the company, and then my final role was in demand generation. So essentially, the path that I took, right, was going towards a role that had a business impact because I didn't want to really kind of, just feel good about getting X number of likes on a social post, right? That didn't really resonate with me. So the concept that, okay, a campaign that I ran brought in maybe like a $500,000 for a company, right? That really excited me and that's something that resonated. So that was like a natural sign for me to kind of move in that direction. Spent 4 years there and got a little bit comfortable in the whole B2B SaaS space, right? Also wanted to do something a little more challenging and then move over to the other side, which is today I'm at Thunderclap. I am a partner and head of growth. And about Thunderclap, we are a premium B2B website revamp agency based out of India. What we do is end-to-end website revamps for all B2B customers, right? Services and product alike. And we work with some of our top VCs in our country, which is India. Along with that, we've worked with a lot of global companies, right? From Razorpay, your Story Lane. One thing that I am extremely proud of our work is our customers span across the spectrum. So there are some customers we have had who have launched their product with us, which means we've been a part of their early GTM, right? And on the other side, we've had enterprise clients like Shopline, which is a competitor to Shopify, who we've helped expand in the UK. So at the same time, we've been doing like a bunch of different stuff, right? So that's really exciting to me. And we really are very glad to be a part of that journey with our customers. At the same time, deliver value like increasing conversions, increasing engagement, and just enhance their brand identity overall. So yeah, that's about me.
I love it. That's an amazing career. This is going to be a fun conversation. So, the subject for today, how to build a content engine that drives pipeline. And there's a fun little disclaimer here that we're going to talk about without paid ads. Now, paid ads are kind of a shortcut when it comes to everything. So, it'll be really cool for us to focus on the content engine and not kind of go into the paid advertising side of things. So, Kiran, first question. What are the first pieces of content or channels you focus on and why? Like, what are the most important pieces of content you would focus on?
Okay, so I like to talk about channels a little more, right? So going back to my work, I've been at Thunderclap for like 6 months now. And when I first arrived to the scene, right, it'll be very surprising to know that when I looked at competitors, because I really wanted to study what they are doing in marketing and like who are they following and all of that kind of stuff. And in the design agency space, I didn't find anybody who was a marketer, right? Because design agencies are more looked at as creative agencies than business consultancies or growth partners, right? Which I thought was a huge differentiator for us. And when I first started, my partners, Ayush and Harsh, right, had done a phenomenal job with the quality of work that we do. So a lot of our content, a lot of our customers, sorry, came from word of mouth, a lot of customer referrals, and a lot of our clients came back, to do more work with us. So those were the prominent channels that were working with us. And to some extent, we also had LinkedIn and website. That is SEO working for us. So when I first came, right, I spent a lot of time understanding our business, like the core fundamentals of the business and what has worked for us historically. So that is something I double down on. So the first channels, right, so to speak, were LinkedIn and SEO. And those are something that I took up and then scaled consistently. And today to the point that where 75-80% of our entire pipeline comes from these two channels. And we've seen a very direct impact of it on the business, like with respect to the pipeline that we generate and the revenue that it contributes to. So yeah, LinkedIn and SEO were the primary channels. Apart from that, what I've been doing is I spend like 60-70% of my time on these channels. And then the rest of the 30-40%, right, goes into experimenting with new channels. Maybe that could be like, your outreach for email, outreach for LinkedIn, maybe doing brand awareness campaigns or increasing your visibility, right, across different platforms. So that's something that's running on the site, but primarily the first channels were LinkedIn and SEO.
I love it. That's awesome. So, when you're looking at that content, how are you measuring its impact? Obviously, we're talking about how a content engine can drive pipeline. And sometimes they feel like there's kind of a disconnect between those two things and understanding what the content's doing for the pipeline. How do you measure and know what content's impacting that pipeline?
Okay, so you know what? So content, why, why just content marketing in general is because as a very early stage startup, right, you don't have the luxury to spend like thousands of dollars on marketing, on paid marketing especially. So I look at content marketing very intentionally. So when I think about our content creation process, right, it resonates with the marketing funnel. So for anybody who isn't aware of the marketing funnel, right? What it basically means, it's your journey with your customer that starts right from the point where your customer is not aware that your product or your solution exists to the point where they are aware of it, then they like it, then they're considering it for themselves. They're interested to work with you and want to hear what your offer is. And then they get to understand what your deal is, and then they sign up as a customer. When they have a good experience working with you, they turn into an evangelist, basically a promoter. So that's an entire funnel, which we call tofu, mofu, bofu. Top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So for me, it's very intentional when I look at this funnel, right? Since we're very early stage, our brand awareness isn't as much as like a huge super site would be, or any other enterprise company can be. So when we started out, we focused a lot on bofu, that is bottom of the content, bottom of the funnel content, right? So two channels that I was talking about in the last question, right, was LinkedIn and SEO. So on LinkedIn, a lot of our content, if you go through my LinkedIn or my partner, I use LinkedIn. It's a lot about what is the kind of work that we do and how we do it. So it will talk about the results we drove for our client or how we kind of achieved that, right? What were the challenges they were facing and how did we tackle those challenges? Because in the BOFU content, we want to give our prospects, anybody who might be looking for that solution, right? Clear visualization of what it would be to work with Thundercloud or how does Thunderclap solve XYZ problem that they might be facing. If we can make it very, very clear and effortless for them to visualize this or how they can work with us, I think that interest is already generated, right? They would want to know more. They would get curious on, what can we do for them? So being an early stage startup, a lot of the focus went into creating this BOFO pieces. Similarly, on the SEO side, a content piece could be a listicle or a blog that's very commercial in nature, right? Around a commercial keyword that's resonating with our service, right? So stuff like that, we started with BOFU. Now we're at a stage where we're also creating mofu and tofu pieces. So for mofu, it's about everything that helps the customer or the prospects establish a trust with you. That could be case studies or that could be result cards, right? So what we also do at Thunderclap is after every single project concludes, after like 1 month or 2 months, we have this scorecards that we create for every single customer that talks about very key metrics and what these were before and after the migration or before and after the launch. So that brings an insane amount of credibility for us that, to show that the launch was a success. That, thousands of dollars that you might have spent on this project were a success because you can clearly show an ROI, which is something that B2B marketers care about, right? They're not just going to spend like thousands of dollars and just be like, okay, fine, we'll see what happens. So I think that's something that resonated. That's why we started creating all of this. And that's been massively helpful for us in the sales process itself. Coming to the tofu part of the funnel, right, which is something that we've started very recently. A recent case study that I'd like to talk about is one of our lead magnets. That was the first lead magnet we published. It was a study that we did for 30 B2B SaaS brands and their landing pages, their demo landing pages, because those are one of the most critical aspects of a website, right? Everybody wants more form submissions, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So how to kind of address that? So this ebook that we created broke down these 30 demo landing pages. We talked about what's good in them, what can be taken away, or what could be made better. So essentially, I think it was some 50, 55 pages ebook, and that sort of helped anybody understand how can you create like the perfect landing page. We gave a wireframe for them. We gave like prompts for, how can you write the most perfect copy that suits your product. So we gave like essentially like an entire starter kit on how to create this demo landing page for the business. And that post on LinkedIn went viral. So my post alone, right, has like 80,000 impressions. And I think we reached out to like what 400, 500 marketers just with this one single post, which was a huge success. And that was our first lead magnet. So one thing that I have very recently started doing is trying to understand what the pulse is of the customer, right? What would they really want to know? Some of this insights come from my own experience because when I was managing the website at Web Engage, right, I didn't really know how to, what kind of growth experiments to run to increase the leads from the website, or what could make our users stay more, what could reduce the bounce rate, right? All of these questions, which I didn't have answers to. So now I have started talking to a lot of marketing leaders. And very recently, I spoke to, I think, a bunch of them, around 5 or 10 of them. And I try to understand what is something that they really struggle with. And a lot of them were talking about, how to arrive at the right positioning for their product. Because you go across competitive websites, right? And everybody's talking about the same features in the same way. So how do you differentiate? How do you do a website audit? Or what can be quick wins for you so that, your leads increase or your engagement increases across the website? So all of these are problem statements that resonate with our clients. And once we figure that out, they become pillars for creating any content that we have, be it on the website or LinkedIn or any other channel that we'll use in the future. So that's how I look at content creation. And when we create this content, right, then how it performs, what kind of engagement it gets, what kind of reach it gets, clearly showcases the outcome. The sales outcome might be, like the number of calls booked or number of inquiries somebody is reaching out for us to, or somebody who visited our website. So stuff like that sort of just is a, ripple effect of the content that we create.
Okay. I love all of the examples you just shared. I love the tangible advice. I love the campaign. Thank you for the specifics. That's super cool. One follow-up question on that that's really interesting to me. You clearly map the content and like you said, top, middle, and bottom of the funnel to those various stages and understand, okay, middle of the funnel, we're here to build trust. And here's how we build that trust, things like that. When you distribute that content, depending on the stages of the funnel, does that pick the channel or do you distribute all different phases of the funnel content through all of your channels and just do a really good job of segmentation, knowing where people are at in the funnel? Or do you kind of assume, okay, if they're on a social media platform, all of my content there really is kind of that an awareness stage. If they're on the website, okay, they're now in the middle of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel is just for sales reps and people working with people. How do you kind of distinguish and kind of separate those things?
So on the distribution side, right, we have started doing it very recently. So we use LinkedIn groups, we use Facebook groups to kind of amplify the content that we have. Very recently, we've started doing Quora. Reddit is something that we want to go after in the future as well. When it comes to distribution, one thing that I am like a huge fan of is repurposing content. So this is something that I used to do back at Web Engage also, right? Where I used to turn like one piece of video content in like five, six content pieces, and which we used to use like across the quarter. So I think that's the amazing way of like, squeezing the maximum ROI out of any content piece you create. So I think that's something that we want to do. On the distribution side, we want to expand more and experiment more with more channels. But for now, these groups and Quora is the primary one that we're doing.
Okay, I love that. Kiran, we have run out of time. These things go by so quick. They're short
Wow.
interviews. It
Yeah.
goes by fast, huh? For
Yeah.
anyone who wants to connect with you and reach out online, how and where can they find you?
LinkedIn.
Okay,
Yes. Just type in Kiran Kulkarni Thunderclap and I'll be the first person there. Yeah.
perfect. And we will link to Kiran's LinkedIn profile in the show notes below. So all you have to do is scroll down, look for her name, and then click on it, and you'll be connected. Kiran, thank you, thank you, thank you for the insights and everything you shared today. It was amazing. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun talk to you because in general, right, when I am doing this every day, right, I don't really get the time to sit down and think about what I'm doing. But I really got to kind of, put things in together and I put my brain on this and then just figure out how did I approach all of these things when I joined Thunderclap. So yeah, this was massively fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.